Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm so excited because today I'm going to be walking you through the two really super crazy important things that you need to optimize right now if you are a podcaster or you want to have a podcast as a method to growing your business, getting those leads in. Long form is life. Can I get an amen? Tell me in the chat. We're going to be going over those two really key, super important things that you're going to optimize right now in your podcast to see explosive growth, really quick growth. These are critically important, and I don't want you to sleep on these two strategies. If you want to grow this year, you got to listen in and lean in. Let's get into it. Are you ready to grow your online business, make consistent income, start a successful podcast? Welcome to Online Business for Christian Women with Stephanie Gass. It's time to grow, girl. Let's do this. So I've got two strategies for you that are super important right now. The first strategy when it comes to growing and blowing up that podcast, friend, is the title of your show. That's right. It's that simple. When you title your podcast, you really have to consider the SEO behind it. What does that stand for? Search engine optimization. When somebody goes into Apple Podcasts and they search for meal prepping, all these podcasts come up in the search results. There's a reason for that. And the reason is that brilliant human that started that podcast realized that their micro niche had to do with meal prepping. So they plugged in that exceptionally important keyword into the title of their podcast. So as you can see here in these search results, you have a lot of options of podcasts that used the term meal prepping. Now, what I teach my students when it comes to titling their podcast is that boring is going to bring in the bucks, okay? Boring equals bucks. So we might look at a podcast title like Meal Prep for Busy Moms, or Meal Prep 101, or Meal Prep for Career Women, or Meal Prep on a Budget, or Get Started with Meal Prepping, right? These are going to be podcast titles that are so boring and basic, they're guaranteed to get you clicks because people are here for the solution. They want you to solve their problem as quickly as possible. Now, there are some really important bonus things that you need to consider when it comes to immediately grabbing attention. One of those being the art that you choose to put with your podcast. So you're going to notice that those really beautiful, professionally curated podcast cover artwork, those are going to stop your scroll and get you to click. So it's not just the title of the podcast. That's what's going to get you to find all the meal prepping shows, but it's also that visual aspect that's going to be super important as well. So I want you to consider, is my podcast title really clear, punchy, and boring? That is what it is, okay? And let me tell you, I would have gone through 3 iterations of my own podcast, and I've learned the hard way what not to do. So my podcast was originally called the Mompreneur Mastermind Show, which was fine. However, I grew, I evolved. I wanted to specifically speak to online business and podcasting. I wanted to specifically speak to faith-led women. And so I went through an identity crisis back in 2020-ish and went, you know what? This is going to become the Stephanie Gass Show. That was a huge mistake. Why? Because nobody knows who Stephanie Gass is. Nobody cares, right? Like, whatever. Maybe one day when I'm Joe Rogan or something, like, they'll care. But the point is, no one was searching for my name, and my podcast actually saw a pretty solid decline in new listeners and in downloads because of that strategy. So I actually shifted and really went back to the boring basics when I rebranded for the hopefully last and final time, but I'll never say never, to Online Business for Christian Women. What is my podcast? Well, you're not wondering. It's Online Business. Who's it for? Christian women. It is what it is. Now, you don't have to have the who in your podcast title. I do, but you could just have a micro niche type title. So, all right, the second thing that is so critically important for your podcast to experience massive growth is another keyword hack. So I just taught you about infusing a really critical keyword, and also PS, like, you can guess what those really critical keywords are and put them into your title, but inside my programs, I actually do a deep dive with you so that you can prove your theories around what you think those top keywords are. We are actually going to go and do some really in-depth research with your ideal avatar, with some online software, with my coaches, with myself, because we have got to really validate and prove what does the internet say and what do your people say about the top keywords that you think are your keywords, right? And sometimes it blows your mind. Like, I used to think Christian women or Christian entrepreneur was a top producing keyword for me until I actually got schooled and did a lot of intentional learning around these strategies. And I actually learned that that was not a top producing keyword, that people were not searching for that at all. And so, oh, cool. Like, I need to shift up my strategy around how I utilize keywords in my business. So the second strategy is when you look at podcast titles. Here, I'll pull up my podcast and show you my podcast. So here, what you guys can see is that my podcast titles all have a strategic keyword inside of them, or two. They're very pointed to what my person is going to be searching for up in that search bar. So this is the other place that you want to be infusing these top terms that your ideal listener is going to be searching for. All right, and it is really that simple. So if you want to learn more about titling your podcast with a really intentional strategy, because here's the bottom line here. I want your podcast to grow this year. I want you to experience exponential growth because your podcast is the place that conversion happens. Audio learning is what allows people to free themselves from the distraction, from the constant dopamine hit of swiping on their phone, clicking, changing contents, clicking through shorts. It allows people to really go deep in their mind and heart and listen and learn. And I think that's where the belief happens, and that belief must happen in order for people to spend money with you. If they don't believe that you are their person, if they don't believe that you have the solutions that they need, they'll not buy from you. But this audio platform that I'm so serious about you creating and cultivating, it is the answer to that. It is where we take someone from, I'm interested in meal prep, to, oh my goodness, I didn't realize there was a huge time-saving strategy to this. I didn't understand how you could bucket your proteins and make those on Sunday and then prep veggies every Tuesday, Thursday, and kind of like space this out. I didn't understand how to prepare a protein and then make a different meal for my kids than myself and my spouse, right? Like, they start to understand that you actually have this really beautiful method to the thing that they need and want the most. And because they're audibly learning and listening with you, that is where the belief starts to blossom. And then when they really believe in you and they keep coming back for more and you're front of mind because you keep airing consistently your podcast episodes, that is when they eventually decide. It's not for me. Like, if people want to buy my programs, it's when, they are going to do it. If they're consistently listening to me, it's only a matter of time, which is beyond my control. What is in my control is optimizing my show, learning, getting better and better at my craft, showing up with consistency, heart, believing that these people are here, praying over my business, praying over my podcast, pouring into my people, and then God takes care of the rest. The sales happen, and they happen often, and they happen on Evergreen because of the podcast. Now, when we fix the top of funnel, which is the two strategies I shared with you guys today, the title of your podcast and infusing highly searched SEO keyword terminology throughout your episodes. And yes, there's a huge strategy behind that. You cannot just throw whatever you think into your titles. That's not it. There's a strategy behind that, which I teach you in Podcast to Profit, my group coaching program. I mean, we go so stinking deep into SEO and podcast keywords and optimization work. Like, we're there like a month, really diving in, really strategically ensuring that you have the right words on your podcast title and cover art. and within every single episode and with every single show notes, because all of that really matters to continuously driving in new leads and listeners, okay? So this model, it's really simple. It's just that you've got to know the how, you've got to learn the steps. So let's start here with these two simple things that you guys can tweak and test. Remember that everything's a test. Every single thing is a test in your business, and you're going to focus on data over drama. So if something is not working in 6 to 12 months, we take a look at it, we analyze, we evaluate, and then we test again. We are entrepreneurs. We are CEOs. We do not give up, whine, and start over. We dive in, optimize, and get better. Am I right? Yes. All right. So guys, I want you to pop down below this video. Which of these strategies are you going to shift right now? Podcast title or podcast keywords inside of the titles of your episodes. Go ahead and pop that below in the chat for me. Let me know what your title is. We would love to see what it is. Hey guys, if you enjoyed today's video, be sure that you like, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell for more videos just like this so you don't miss it. And be sure that you have checked out all the ways that I can support you by heading over to stephaniegass.com. I've got some workshops for you, like the Podcast for Growth workshop, which is at podcastforgrowth.com, or I've got some free checklists and quizzes for you. All of it can be found at stephaniegass.com. Lastly, if you haven't checked out my podcast, it is Online Business for Christian Women. Anywhere that you listen to podcasts, you can also just look up my name, Stephanie Gass. Thanks for being here. I'll see you again soon. Bye.